The annual Thompson family gathering was in full swing at my parents' estate, the usual parade of designer clothes and luxury cars dotting the circular driveway. I pulled up in my used Toyota Corolla, deliberately parking between my brother James's Ferrari and my sister Victoria's Bentley. "Look who finally made it," James called out as I entered the mansion's grand foyer. "Still driving that rust bucket, Sarah?" I smiled, smoothing my simple black dress, another deliberate choice. "It gets me where I need to go." "You know," Victoria chimed in, champagne glass in hand, "Bradley's dealership could get you something more appropriate for a Thompson. If you could afford the payments, that is." The siblings shared a knowing laugh. Poor Sarah, the family disappointment, who'd turned down a position in Thompson Industries to start her own tech company. 5 years of them mocking my humble lifestyle while I poured every penny into research and development. They only knew. "Sarah, darling." Mom swooped in, air-kissing my cheeks. "We were just discussing the family portfolio. James's division posted record profits this quarter." "That's wonderful," I replied, checking my watch. "Right on schedule." "It must be hard," James continued, enjoying his favorite sport, needling his little sister. "Watching us succeed while you're still, what do you call it? Building your startup?" Dad joined the group, scotch in hand. "You know, Princess, that offer to join the family business still stands. No shame in admitting you need help." I checked my phone, reading the message that had just arrived. "Package secured. All systems go." "Actually," I said, "I have some news about my company." "Finally selling that little app of yours?" Victoria smirked. "Not exactly." I moved toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the back lawn. "But I did make a significant acquisition today." James laughed. "What acquisition? You can't even afford a new car." The distant sound of helicopter blades cut through the party chatter. "That would be my ride," I said calmly, watching their confused expressions. "And about that acquisition." I turned to my father. "Congratulations on selling Thompson Technologies. The board approved my purchase offer an hour ago." The helicopter, my helicopter emblazoned with my company's logo, appeared over the trees, descending toward the manicured lawn. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor as she fainted dead away. "This is a joke," James sputtered, his face reddening. "Thompson Technologies is worth billions. You can't possibly." $8.7 billion to be exact, I interrupted, pulling up the confirmation email on my phone. "Though I got it for $7.2 billion. The board was quite eager to sell after seeing my company's latest innovations. Victoria grabbed Dad's arm. "Daddy, what is she talking about?" Our father had gone pale, finally recognizing the logo on the helicopter's tail. "Quantum Apex," he whispered. You're Quantum Apex?" The mysterious tech company that had revolutionized quantum computing. The startup that had Wall Street in a frenzy. The corporation valued at $50 billion that had maintained its CEO's anonymity until now. "Surprised?" I asked, watching the helicopter land. All those years of living poorly, I was investing everything into research. Building something bigger than Thompson Technologies could ever be. Mom stirred from her faint, helped up by concerned relatives. "Sarah, what have you done?" "What you all said I couldn't do," I replied. "Remember when you called my ideas unrealistic? When James said quantum computing was a dead end? When Dad refused to let me head the tech division because I lacked experience?" The party had gone silent, all eyes moving between me and the sleek black helicopter on the lawn. "That's Harrison Chin," someone gasped, recognizing the man emerging from the helicopter. "The Silicon Valley venture capitalist." "Paisu," I corrected. "He believed in my vision when my own family wouldn't." Along with the team of scientists and engineers who saw what Thompson Technologies missed, the future. James lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "You betrayed the family. Buying our company behind our backs. "No," I cut him off, pulling free. "I beat you at your own game. Fair and square. The same way you said I never could." Dad seemed to age years in minutes. "Why didn't you tell us? All this time. Would you have believed me?" I asked. "Or would you have tried to take control, like you did with every other opportunity one ever had?" Harrison entered through the patio doors, tablet in hand. "Sarah, the press is waiting. They want a statement about the acquisition." Tell them the truth, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Tell them Quantum Apex's CEO just bought her family's company. Tell them the Thompson girl they said would never succeed just became their boss. Victoria collapsed into a chair. All those times we teased you about your car. I could have bought a fleet of Ferraris, I smiled. But I had better things to do with my money. Like building the largest quantum computing company in the world. Mom stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Sweetheart, we never meant to. To what? Doubt me? Dismiss me? Push me aside for James and Victoria? I checked my watch again. The press conference starts in an hour. I need to go. In that. James gestured to my simple dress. I walked to the helicopter, then turned back one last time. No, dear brother. In my other outfit. I nodded to Harrison, who handed me a garment bag. Inside was a designer suit that cost more than James's Ferrari. By the way, I added, that rust bucket in the driveway? Keep it as a souvenir. A reminder of how badly you all misjudged me. The helicopter blades began to spin as Harrison helped me aboard. Through the window, I could see my family's shocked faces, their perfect world turned upside down by the sister they'd underestimated. One more thing, I called out over the roar of the engines. James, Victoria, check your emails. The board's restructuring starts tomorrow. Hope you're ready to work for your little sister. As we lifted off, Harrison handed me the acquisition papers. Congratulations, CEO Thompson. Or should I say boss? I smiled, watching my family become tiny figures below. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's showing up in a helicopter when they think you can't afford a car. The press conference was a media frenzy. Every major network carried the story. Quantum Apexo revealed. Sarah Thompson acquires family business IN $7.2 billion deal. I stood at the podium in my power suit, finally stepping into the spotlight I'd avoided for 5 years. The questions came rapid fire. Miss Thompson, why keep your identity secret all this time? Was this acquisition personal or strategic? How does your family feel about working for you now? Let me be clear, I addressed the packed room. Quantum Apex's acquisition of Thompson Technologies isn't about family drama. It's about innovation. While Thompson Tech focused on outdated systems, we were revolutionizing quantum computing. The screens behind me displayed our latest achievements, breakthrough technologies that had made me a fortune and changed the industry forever. Sarah. My father's voice boomed from the back of the room. He'd followed us to the press conference, still wearing his party clothes. This is our legacy you're playing with. The reporters spun around, cameras flashing. They couldn't have scripted better drama. Your legacy? I replied, my voice carrying through the microphone. Or your control? I clicked to the next slide, showing Thompson Technologies' declining market share. Under your leadership, our family company fell behind. While you were busy grooming James to take over, I was building the future. Harrison stepped forward with more charts. Thompson Technologies has lost 40% of its market value in the past 3 years. Meanwhile, Quantum Apex's value has increased tenfold. Because you stole our research. James shouted, appearing beside Dad. I laughed, the sound echoing through the speakers. Stole? Every patent, every innovation, every breakthrough is original Quantum Apex technology. The same technology you rejected when I presented it to the Thompson board 5 years ago. The reporters were scribbling frantically, eating up every word. Remember that board meeting, James? When you said quantum computing was, and I quote, a waste of resources. I pulled up the minutes from that very meeting. When Dad said I was too inexperienced to lead the tech division, Victoria appeared next, designer dress wrinkled from rushing over. Sarah, please. We can talk about this privately. Like we talked about my ideas privately? Or like how you privately convinced Dad to pass me over for promotion 3 times. I turned back to the reporters. Let me show you something interesting. The screens displayed a series of emails correspondence between my siblings and father, systematically working to undermine my position in the company. While my family was plotting to keep me away from any real power at Thompson Technologies, I was building something they couldn't control. I gestured to Harrison, who unveiled our latest quantum processor. This single chip has more computing power than all of Thompson Tech's mainframes combined. Dad stepped forward, his face a mix of anger and desperation. You'll destroy everything we built. No, Dad. I'm saving it. Quantum Apex isn't just acquiring Thomson Technologies, we're revolutionizing it. Those who can adapt will stay. Those who can't. I met his eyes directly, will be thanked for their service. The room erupted with questions, cameras flashing like strobe lights. But I wasn't done. Starting tomorrow, Thomson Technologies will be rebranded as Quantum Thomson, a subsidiary of Quantum Apex. I've already appointed a new board of directors, experts in quantum computing, AI, and digital innovation. You can't do this. James protested. Surely I can. And I did. I pulled up the final slide, the new company structure. As for the Thomson family's involvement, Dad, James, Victoria, you're welcome to stay on. In entry-level positions. It's time you learned how real innovation works. Mom burst into the room, tears streaming down her face. Sarah, me more, please. We're family. Yes, we are. Which is why I'm giving you all jobs instead of golden parachutes. Consider it my way of teaching the family business. Harrison approached with another tablet. The market's responding. Quantum Apex stock is up 15% since the announcement. I smiled, thinking of my old Toyota Corolla and all the years of pretending to struggle. Speaking of stock, I should mention one more thing. I turned to my family. Remember all those times you teased me about being poor? About not being able to afford a nice car? They nodded numbly. I own 70% of Quantum Apex's shares. As of today's market close, that makes me worth approximately $35 billion. I paused, letting that sink in. Which means I could buy and sell Thomson Technologies 10 times over. With cash. The reporters were going wild, but I only cared about 4 faces in the crowd, my family, finally realizing just how badly they'd underestimated their poor little Sarah. Now, I concluded, who's ready to learn how real business is done? Your orientation starts tomorrow. Don't be late, your little sister runs a tight ship. The next morning, the Thomson family arrived at Quantum Apex headquarters, a gleaming 70-story tower that made Thomson Technologies building look like a corner store. They stood in the lobby, still processing the events of the past 24 hours. Good morning, Mr. Thomson, Mr. Thomson, Miss Thomson, the security guard greeted them. Your visitor badges are ready. Please wait for your escort. Visitor badges? James sputtered. Do you know who we are? Of course, sir. You're the CEO's family. Here for new employee orientation. I watched the scene unfold on the security feeds from my penthouse office. The same office they told me I'd never earn. Harrison stood beside me reviewing the morning reports. The market's loving this, he said. Stock's up another 20%. Your rags to riches story is trending worldwide. Time to greet the new employees, I smiled, straightening my Armani suit. How's Dad handling the reorganization news? Not well. He's been calling board members all night trying to block the merger. Nobody's taking his calls. The elevator ride to the lobby felt like a victory lap. 5 years of secrecy, of letting them think I was struggling, had led to this moment. The doors opened to reveal my family, looking lost in the vast ultramodern space. Welcome to Quantum Apex, I announced, striding toward them. Or should I say your new workplace? This is ridiculous, Victoria protested. We have decades of experience running Thomson Technologies. Running it into the ground, I corrected, pulling up company statistics on the lobby's massive digital wall. Your experience cost shareholders billions while you focused on maintaining family control instead of innovating. Mom stepped forward, trying a different approach. Mija, we're proud of what you've built, but surely we can find a compromise? Like the compromises you offered me? I led them to the elevator, accessing the secure executive floor with my biometric scan. Let me show you something. The doors opened to reveal a museum-like space displaying Quantum Apex's achievements. While you were laughing at my failed startup, I was revolutionizing quantum computing. Every patent, every breakthrough, every innovation that made this company worth $50 billion, they all came from the daughter you said would never succeed. But the secrecy, Dad finally spoke. Why hide who you were? Because you would have tried to take control just like you're trying now. I pulled up his phone records on a nearby screen. Calling board members at midnight? Really, Dad? James paled. You monitor our phones? I monitor everything. How do you think I stayed ahead of you all these years? I led them to a conference room where Harrison waited with orientation packets. Now about your new positions. You can't seriously expect us to start at the bottom, Victoria interrupted. Actually, I can. And I'll tell you why. I clicked through slides showing their past performance. James, your division lost $300 million on failed projects. Victoria, your marketing strategies were outdated 5 years ago. And Dad. I paused, meeting his eyes. You rejected quantum computing as science fiction when I proposed it. We made mistakes, Dad admitted. But we're still Thompsons. Yes, you are. Which is exactly why you need to earn your positions this time. I distributed employee handbooks. Welcome to Quantum Apex's Advanced Technology Training Program. 6 months of intensive learning, starting with basic quantum computing principles. 6 months. James looked horrified. Of training. Consider it a crash course in humility. The same humility you never showed me. I pulled up the org chart. You'll report to people half your age who actually understand modern technology. You'll learn what real innovation looks like. And if we refuse? Dad challenged. Then you can watch from the sidelines as I transform Thomson Technologies into something you never had the vision to build. I smiled. Your choice. Mom sank into a chair, finally understanding the magnitude of the situation. All those years living in that small apartment, driving that old car. I was investing every penny in research and development. Building this. I gestured to the empire around us. While you were all showing off your luxury cars and vacation homes, I was creating the future. Harrison entered with more papers. The press is requesting a family photo. They're calling it the Thompson dynasty's new queen. What do you say, family? I asked. Ready to show the world what it looks like when the underestimated daughter becomes the boss? They looked at each other, then at the orientation packets, then at the empire I'd built while they weren't watching. One condition, Dad said quietly. We want to understand. Really understand what you've built here. That's all I ever wanted, I replied. For you to see what I could do if given the chance. I turned to Harrison. Schedule them for the advanced coding class. Let's see if the Thompsons can learn some new tricks. As my family filed out to begin their orientation, I caught my reflection in the window. Sarah Thompson, the poor little sister who bought her family's company with the fortune they never knew she had. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's teaching them exactly why they were wrong in the first place. Oh, and James. I called after them. About that Ferrari in Dad's driveway? Move it. My helicopter needs somewhere to land. The crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the marble floors of Sterling Manor as I methodically wiped down the antique tables. My sister Victoria's voice echoed through the grand ballroom, directing the event staff for our mother's 60th birthday celebration. The flowers go there, no, not there. Honestly, can't anyone do anything right? Victoria huffed, her Louboutins clicking against the floor. Olivia. The tables in the East Wing still need cleaning. I straightened my back, fighting the urge to remind her that I had a master's degree in business from Stanford. Instead, I adjusted my simple black dress, the one she assumed was a uniform, and nodded. Right away, Victoria. The cleaning staff suits you, she smirked, tapping away on her phone. At least you're finally doing something useful instead of traveling, or whatever excuse you've been using these past 5 years. If she only knew those travels involved acquiring properties across 3 continents. Sterling Manor, this 50-acre estate with its private lake and helipad, was my latest acquisition. But today I was just another member of the staff watching my family's dynamics unfold. Mom swept in, elegant in her designer gown. Victoria, darling, everything looks perfect. You've always had such impeccable taste. She barely glanced in my direction. Oh, make sure you dust the Ming vases properly. Yes, Mrs. Bennet, I replied, using the formal address that was part of my cover. My mother didn't even recognize her own daughter. Then again, she hadn't really looked at me in years. Can you believe this place? My younger brother Derek loudly announced, entering with his latest girlfriend. Must be worth what, 20-30 million? Victoria, how did you even book it? I have connections, Victoria preened. The owner is some reclusive billionaire who never uses it. Their loss, our gain. I bit back a smile. The reclusive billionaire was currently dusting their precious vases. The property was worth closer to 90 million, not that they'd ever know. Speaking of gains, Mom chimed in. Derek's hedge fund just acquired another tech startup. And Victoria's interior design firm landed the Singapore Airlines contract. She sighed dramatically. If only all my children were so accomplished. Has anyone heard from Olivia lately? Derek asked, finally noticing the staff member nearby. Last I heard, she was backpacking through Europe or something equally pointless. Probably ran out of money again, Victoria snickered. Remember when she tried to start that investment company? What a joke. That joke, now managed over $12 billion in assets, with offices in London, Dubai, and Hong Kong. The Singapore Airlines contract Victoria was so proud of? My holding company owned 30% of the airline. My phone buzzed discreetly, a message from my estate manager, Mr. Phillips. Ms. Montgomery, the documents you requested are ready. Shall we proceed as planned? I typed a quick yes before returning to my dusting. The stage was set. In exactly 20 minutes, my family would learn who really owned Sterling Manor. And much, much more. Victoria's voice cut through my thoughts. Steph, there's a scuff on the dance floor. Fix it. I turned, meeting her eyes directly for the first time that day. Of course, Ms. Bennett. Would you like me to polish the Fleming paintings in the East Wing as well? The what? She frowned. The Fleming collection. The priceless paintings in the East Wing. Victoria's face reddened. Of course I know about those. Just clean the floor. I hid my smile. Victoria, who prided herself on her art knowledge, hadn't even realized she was standing beneath a $40 million masterpiece. Just like she hadn't realized her useless sister now controlled one of the largest private real estate portfolios in Asia. Mr. Phillips appeared at the doorway, our signal that everything was in place. In his hand was a leather folder containing documents that would shatter my family's perception forever. Mom raised her champagne glass. To the perfect venue for my perfect birthday. I checked my watch. Time for the cleaning staff to reveal herself as the owner. Mrs. Bennett, Mr. Phillips cleared his throat, interrupting Mom's toast. I apologize for the intrusion, but there seems to be a situation requiring immediate attention. Victoria bristled at the interruption. Can't you see we're in the middle of something? Deal with it yourself. I'm afraid I need to speak with the property owner, he continued, his eyes finding mine. Ms. Montgomery? The room fell silent. Mom's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. Of course, Mr. Phillips, I said, straightening from my cleaning position. What seems to be the problem? Victoria let out a shrill laugh. Very funny. Stop wasting our time and get back to work before I report you. Report her to whom? Mr. Phillips asked mildly. Ms. Montgomery owns Sterling Manor. The champagne glass in Mom's hand shattered, sending crystal shards across the marble floor. Derek's girlfriend squeaked in surprise. That's impossible, Mom stammered. Olivia. I removed the plain black apron, revealing the tailored dress underneath. Hello, Mother. Surprise. Victoria's face cycled through shades of red. This is absurd. You can't even afford rent in the city. I had to help you pay for lunch 3 years ago. Actually, I smiled. You insisted on paying for lunch while I was finalizing the purchase of the building your design firm operates from. I turned to Mr. Phillips. The documents? He opened the leather folder, revealing contracts and deeds. The Fleming collection has been successfully transferred to the East Wing, and the renovation plans for the North Garden are ready for your approval. Derek grabbed the papers, his banking experience letting him understand exactly what he was seeing. These are real. But the holding company listed here, that's one of the largest property developers in Asia. Montgomery Global Holdings, I confirmed. Founded 6 years ago in my apartment. The one you all thought was embarrassingly small for a woman my age. But I booked this venue through Preston and Blake Realty, Victoria protested weakly. A subsidiary of Montgomery Global, I explained. Along with 30 other luxury property management firms across 4 continents. Mom sank into a nearby chair, her perfect posture crumbling. All those times you said you were traveling. Board meetings in Dubai. Property acquisitions in Singapore. Opening our Tokyo office. I walked to the Fleming painting Victoria had failed to recognize. This piece alone cost more than your entire design firm's annual revenue. Ms. Montgomery, Mr. Phillips interjected. The mayor is on line 1 regarding the downtown development project. Victoria's face went from red to white. The Hamilton Plaza project? That's where my biggest client is planning to move their headquarters. Yes, all 40 floors of it. My building, by the way. I turned to my brother. And Derek, about that tech startup your hedge fund just acquired? Check who owns the majority stake in your fund. Derek fumbled with his phone, pulling up financial records. His face went ashen. You're our principal investor? Through a series of shell companies, yes. I thought it was time for a family reunion of sorts. I pressed a button and hidden panels in the walls slid open, revealing screens displaying real-time data from my global operations. Welcome to my actual office. But you failed. Victoria burst out. That investment company you started, it collapsed. A strategic bankruptcy, I corrected. Sometimes you need to appear small to grow large. A lesson our family never quite understood. The screens showed properties across the world. Hotels in Paris, skyscrapers in Shanghai, private islands in the Maldives. All under the Montgomery Global banner. The cleaning staff suits me, you said? I moved to the center of the room. Tell me, Victoria, how does it feel to know you've been paying rent to your failure of a sister for the past 3 years? Victoria's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she sank into a nearby chair. This is some kind of trick. You're still just Olivia. Ms. Montgomery, another staff member approached with a tablet. The London office needs approval for the Deutsche Bank acquisition. 2.3 billion euros, correct? I asked, scanning the documents before adding my digital signature. Make sure legal reviews the offshore components. Mom had finally found her voice. But all those family dinners where you could barely afford wine. I own 3 vineyards in France, I replied coolly. I just enjoyed watching you insist on treating me to $30 bottles while lecturing me about financial responsibility. Derek was still scrolling through his phone, his banking experience letting him piece things together. The Mitchell Group merger last year. The mysterious Asian investor. That was you? The same investor who now controls 60% of your hedge fund's portfolio, I confirmed. Maybe you shouldn't have skipped those Asia-Pacific investment meetings to play golf. The grand ballroom's doors opened again and my chief financial officer entered, elegant in her Armani suit. Ms. Montgomery, I have the quarterly reports ready, and the Prime Minister of Singapore is confirming tomorrow's lunch. Victoria choked on air. Prime Minister? We're discussing the redevelopment of Marina Bay, I explained. A little $5 billion project your backpacking sister is overseeing. Mom stood suddenly, her social conditioning kicking in. Darling, why didn't you tell us? We would have. Would have what, mother? Stopped telling everyone I was a disappointment? Stopped using me as a cautionary tale at country club lunches. I walked to the windows overlooking the estate's pristine gardens. By the way, your country club membership. What about it? She asked warily. I bought the club last month. Consider your platinum membership under review. Victoria finally found her spite again. This is revenge, isn't it? For how we treated you. I laughed, the sound echoing off the marble floors. Revenge? Victoria, I could have bankrupted your design firm with a single phone call. I could have pulled Derek's funding and watched his successful hedge fund collapse. This isn't revenge, it's education. Mr. Phillips approached again. The helicopter is ready for your meeting in New York, and the board members are assembling virtually. New York. Derek's girlfriend piped up. But the party. Oh, I'm not staying for the party, I smiled. The estate manager will show you out when you're finished. After all, this is private property and technically you're all trespassing. Mom's face crumpled. But my birthday celebration is happening exactly where it should, in a house owned by your greatest disappointment. I checked my watch. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Several, actually. The screens around the room continued displaying my empire's reach. Luxury resorts, tech companies, financial institutions. The empire I'd built while they mocked my poor life choices. One more thing, I paused at the doorway. Victoria, about your Singapore Airlines contract? Check who sits on their board of directors. The name Montgomery might ring a bell. 3 months after the birthday party revelation, I sat in my penthouse office atop Montgomery Tower, reviewing the quarterly family reports. The sun was rising over the city skyline, casting long shadows across the awards and accolades that lined my walls. "Your mother is here for her scheduled appointment," my assistant announced through the intercom. I smiled slightly. How things had changed. Now Mom had to schedule appointments to see her own daughter. "Send her in." She entered, notably subdued compared to her usual dramatic flair. Gone was the overwhelming perfume and clanking jewelry. Instead, she wore a simple designer suit, purchased, I knew, from one of my retail subsidiaries. "Olivia," she started, then corrected herself. "Miss Montgomery. You can still call me Olivia, Mother. Take a seat." She perched on the edge of the chair, looking uncomfortable in the space that radiated power. The wall of screens behind me displayed real-time data from my global operations, a constant reminder of what she'd failed to see all these years. "I've been reflecting," she began carefully, "about everything. The way I treated you. For 20 years, I added, keeping my voice neutral. "Would you like to see something?" I pulled up archived footage on one of the screens. "This is from your garden party 6 years ago." The video played. Mom telling her friends how disappointing it was that her daughter played with computers instead of finding a suitable husband. In the background, you could see me quietly typing on my laptop, writing the code that would eventually become the backbone of my financial empire. "I was finalizing my first billion-dollar acquisition that day," I informed her. "While you were apologizing for my existence, I was buying the bank that held your mortgage." Mom's hands twisted in her lap. "Your sister, Victoria, has been asking about her design firm's lease, which expires next month, I know." I pulled up another screen. "She's been trying to contact my property management company about renewal terms. She's worried you'll evict her." The thought crossed my mind, I admitted. But unlike our family, I don't believe in unnecessary cruelty. Her rent will increase to market rate, which coincidentally is triple what she's paying now. A notification flashed across my screen. Derek's hedge fund requesting an emergency capital injection. My brother had learned some humility in the past 3 months, especially after discovering that 70% of his successful trades had been quietly backed by my companies. "Your brother's wife called," Mom ventured. "About the baby shower. At Sterling Manor? Already approved. Unlike some people, I don't weaponize property access against family." The barb hit home. Mom flinched. My CFO entered with a stack of reports. "The Dubai merger is complete, and the London office reports the NHS contract is proceeding as planned. Also, Victoria's design firm submitted a bid for the Singapore project." "On merit alone?" I asked. "Yes. She's actually quite talented when she's not riding on the family name." I nodded. "Process it normally then. No preferential treatment, positive or negative." Mom watched this exchange with new eyes. "You really do run everything, don't you? Did you think I was exaggerating?" I turned to the windows. "See that construction site? My new tech hub. The airport's new terminal? Montgomery Global. The luxury hotel chain you love? I bought it last year." "I told the country club ladies the truth," she said quietly. "About who you really are. What you've built." My PR team tracked the fallout. Funny to see them realize they'd been ignoring one of the world's richest women. Another alert. Victoria wanted a meeting. "She's learning," I said. "Now she asks instead of demanding." "We all are," Mom admitted. "Your father, he wants a family dinner." I looked at her. "Last time you suggested I date a friend's son. Said I needed a backup plan." "I was wrong," she whispered. "About everything." My phone buzzed. The Prime Minister confirmed our deal. Another note. "I just bought a startup with quantum patents." "Ms. Montgomery," my assistant said. "The board is waiting." I stood adjusting my suit. "We'll have dinner," I told Mom. "Not at your house. At Sterling Manor. You'll see what I've built." "Thank you," she said. Then softly, "I'm proud of you." Now that I'm successful?" I asked. "No," she said. "Now that I see you." She left. I turned to my screens. Victoria's design looked strong. Derek's fund showed real ethics. They were learning. Maybe the best revenge wasn't crushing family. Maybe it was showing them new ways to grow. Ms. Montgomery, my assistant said. Your helicopter is ready for the UN summit. I gathered my notes and paused at the door. The sun lit the city I was shaping. Somewhere out there, my family was finally seeing past their limits. Quiet ones often build the loudest legacies. The Anderson Corp quarterly board meeting was proceeding exactly as it had for the past 2 years since I'd started working there. The mahogany conference room reeked of expensive cologne and aged privilege as 14 board members adjusted their designer suits and Apple Watches. Sarah, coffee for everyone, my father commanded without looking up from his iPad. Then take your usual spot in the corner. We need someone to handle the minutes. I quietly poured coffee into fine china cups, thinking about the notification waiting on my secure phone. Share transfer complete. Majority ownership confirmed. Don't forget to note who seconds the motions this time, Richard, my father's CFO, said with a condescending smile. Last meeting's minutes were lacking. I took my seat in the corner, opening my laptop. A seemingly basic model that actually contained more computing power than the entire building. My hidden empire's latest acquisition was about to be revealed. First order of business, Father announced, the mysterious share purchases over the past 18 months. Someone has been quietly buying through shell companies. The board shifted uncomfortably. These titans of industry who'd dismissed me as the CEO's daughter who couldn't handle real business had no idea their jobs now depended on my decisions. We've tracked the purchases to a holding company called Quantum Holdings, Richard reported, straightening his Hermes tie. They now control approximately. The door burst open. Jessica, Richard's assistant, rushed in with a stack of papers, her face pale. Sir, the final calculations just came in. The unknown shareholder. They've reached 51%. The room erupted in chaos. Father's knuckles went white around his coffee cup. That's impossible. Nobody could acquire majority control without us knowing. The shareholders' representative is here, Jessica added, her voice shaking. They're requesting an immediate vote to restructure the board. Who would dare? Father started, but froze as I stood up from my corner, closing my notebook with a soft click. I believe, I said quietly, pulling out my quantum-encrypted credentials, that would be me. The silence was absolute as 14 pairs of eyes watched me walk to the head of the table, my father's seat for 30 years. Shall we begin the real meeting? The next 5 minutes in the Anderson Corp boardroom redefined the meaning of stunned silence. 14 of the most powerful executives in the industry sat frozen as I pulled up the quarterly reports on the room's displays. Not their sanitized versions but my real numbers. Let's address the elephant in the room, I said, taking my father's seat. Or should I say, the 14 elephants who never noticed their coffee girl was buying their company out from under them. Richard's hand trembled as he checked the share registry on his tablet. This has to be a mistake. You're just the girl who takes minutes? I smiled, activating my quantum-secured laptop. Check the trading records. Every share purchase over 18 months. All perfectly legal. All carefully hidden through a network of shell companies you were too arrogant to investigate. The displays filled with transaction data. Father's face went from red to white as he watched his empire transfer to my control, one share at a time. Those board meetings where you made me serve coffee? I continued, pulling up more records. I was actually documenting your mismanagement. Every dismissed innovation, every ignored market trend, every outdated strategy you clung to. But the funding. Board member Jenkins sputtered. The billions required. Came from my other companies, I replied. The ones you mockingly called my little side projects when I tried to present them to the board. I brought up another screen showing my global technology empire, companies I'd built in secret while they thought I was just taking notes. That AI startup you rejected last year? I pointed to its current valuation, $4.2 billion. Wine. The quantum computing firm you called unrealistic? Another screen, $7.8 billion. Also mine. The blockchain platform that's revolutionizing finance. I smiled. You can guess. Father found his voice, though it shook. You couldn't possibly. We would have known. Would you? I pulled up the board meeting minutes. My minutes, from the past 2 years. You were too busy making coffee jokes to notice I was documenting your vulnerabilities. Too focused on your country club memberships to see the takeover happening right in front of you. Richard's Hermes tie seemed to be choking him. The shell companies, the holding structures, were designed to be invisible to dinosaurs, I finished. Traditional firms like yours don't understand modern corporate warfare. You were looking for hostile takeovers while I was executing a quantum acquisition. The room's smart systems, secretly running on my technology, adjusted automatically as I stood to deliver the final blow. As of 9 a.m. today, Anderson Corp is a subsidiary of Quantum Holdings. My holdings. I straightened my blazer. Actually a $12,000 piece they'd assumed was from Target. Your positions will be re-evaluated. The next hour in the Anderson Corp boardroom unfolded like a perfectly orchestrated corporate execution. Each revelation was another nail in the coffin of their outdated empire. Let's review your performance, I said, pulling up detailed analytics. Under your leadership, Anderson Corp has missed every major tech trend of the last decade. Artificial intelligence? Dismissed as sci-fi. Quantum computing? Too experimental. Blockchain? A passing fad. Father's hands gripped his armrest as his legacy crumbled. We were being conservative. You were being obsolete, I corrected, displaying market share graphs. While you were protecting your golf buddies' board seats, your competitors were revolutionizing the industry. Well, my competitors now. Richard frantically flipped through papers. But our profit margins are artificially inflated by outdated accounting practices, I finished, bringing up the real numbers. My forensic AI has identified 17 areas of systematic inefficiency, plus some interesting patterns in executive compensation. The board members shifted uncomfortably as their bonus structures appeared on screen. Those creative accounting methods you used to hide declining performance? I continued. My quantum algorithms decoded them months ago. The SEC will be very interested in the report. Jenkins tugged at his collar. The SEC? But we'll be here tomorrow, I smiled. Along with my new executive team. The ones you've been calling unqualified upstarts in your private emails. Father's face went ashen. You accessed our emails? I built the server system you use, I reminded them. Those IT upgrades you made me coordinate? We're actually implementing my surveillance network. Every dismissive comment, every sexist joke, every backroom deal, all documented. The displays filled with their private communications. Board members winced as their words appeared in damning detail. That partnership you rejected last month? I pulled up the proposal. The one from the small tech startup, that was beneath our standards? That was one of my companies testing your due diligence. You failed. Spectacularly. Richard's Mont Blanc pen clattered to the table. The innovation department we shut down is being reopened, I said. Under my leadership. The brilliant minds you fired, already rehired. At double their previous salaries. The room's smart systems, all running on my hidden technology, adjusted the lighting as I stood for the final phase. As for your positions, I continued, consider this your exit interview. The severance packages are generous. More than you deserve given your performance. Father found his voice. You can't just. Can't what? I turned to him. Can't fire the board that made me serve coffee? Can't restructure the company you ran into the ground? Can't implement the innovations you mocked? I activated the room's quantum displays, showing my global technology empire. Companies spanning continents, innovations reshaping industries, success that dwarfed Anderson Corp's outdated metrics. The shareholders' meeting is in an hour, I announced. Since I own 51%, it will be brief. Your resignations will be announced along with the company's new direction. Jenkins raised a shaking hand. And what direction is that? The future, I replied simply. The one you were too blind to see coming. While you were making coffee jokes, I was building an empire. While you were protecting your country club memberships, I was revolutionizing technology. I checked my quantum encrypted watch. Worth more than their combined annual bonuses. Your access cards will deactivate at noon. Security will escort you to clear your offices. I smiled slightly. Don't worry about the minutes of this meeting. I've recorded everything, as usual. Father stood, his CEO authority in tatters. Sarah, please, we never knew. That's exactly the problem, I cut him off. You never knew. Never noticed. Never thought the girl taking notes could be capable of this. That blindness cost you your company. The displays showed the new Anderson Corp structure. My structure. Their names replaced with innovators they'd dismissed, visionaries they'd ignored, leaders they'd underestimated. The press release goes out in 10 minutes, I said, gathering my things. You might want to check your stock options before the market reacts. Though I should warn you. I smiled, I already bought most of those too. As I walked to the door, my door now, I turned back one last time. Next board meeting is Monday. Don't worry about taking minutes. My quantum AI handles that now. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of my technology recording their final moments of power. 14 titans of industry, reduced to spectators in their own downfall. All because they never bothered to look past their coffee girl's notebook. The next 24 hours at Anderson Corp headquarters unfolded like a corporate tsunami, washing away decades of entrenched power structures. I watched from my new CEO office, formerly my father's sanctuary, as the old guard faced their new reality. Security footage showed Richard emptying his desk, his Hermes tie askew as he discovered his executive parking spot had already been reassigned. His private elevator access, revoked. His golden parachute, significantly less golden than he'd expected. Mr. Peterson is requesting an emergency meeting, my AI assistant reported. He's in the lobby with 3 lawyers. Direct them to legal, I replied, signing documents that transferred control of Anderson Corp's global operations. Our quantum AI legal team should be enlightening for them. The morning news was having a field day. Headlines screamed, Coffee Girl to CEO, the greatest corporate takeover in history, and Anderson Corp heir orchestrates billion-dollar coup from the corner chair. My phone buzzed with a message from Jenkins. The country club board meeting. Are you still sponsoring? Tell him the club has new ownership. I smiled, remembering how they'd refused to give me a membership. Quantum Holdings acquired it last month. Members will need to reapply. Based on merit. By noon, the stock market had caught up with reality. Anderson Corp shares soared as investors realized the company's new quantum tech direction. The old board members watched helplessly as their deprecated shares were overwhelmed by my majority holding. Your father is on line 3, my assistant noted. Something about the family trust? Put him through to accounting, I said, reviewing the trust documents I'd quietly modified months ago. Let him discover how his protective financial restrictions actually funded my takeover. The afternoon brought the first wave of changes. Every executive suite was being renovated, transformed from old-money mahogany to quantum-age innovation centers. The boardroom where I'd served coffee was being converted into a quantum computing lab. The Anderson Corp logo is being updated, my design team reported. Replace it, I commanded. The new name is Quantum Anderson. Let them keep their name in second place, a constant reminder of their fall. By evening, the transformation was visible throughout the building. Security systems upgraded, computers replaced, even the coffee machines were now quantum-powered. The old guard's family photos and golf trophies gave way to innovation awards and technology patents. Tomorrow's all-hands meeting is prepared, my assistant confirmed. 5,000 employees will learn their new reality. Perfect, I said, adjusting the presentation. Let them see how their coffee girl will revolutionize their careers. Those who adapt will thrive. Those who cling to the old ways. My phone chimed with another desperate message from the old board. They discovered their executive perks, country clubs, car services, expense accounts, all required new approval. My approval. Your sister called, my assistant added. She's demanding to know about her promised VP position. Direct her to HR, I smiled. Entry-level positions are available in the mail room. She can work her way up, like I supposedly did. The night settled over the city skyline, Anderson Corp's logo still glowing but soon to be replaced. In the reflection of my office windows, I saw not the note-taker they'd dismissed, but the architect of their downfall. A final email arrived from Father, the family dinner on Sunday. Reply that I'll host, I instructed my AI. In the boardroom. They can serve the coffee this time. As darkness fell, security cameras showed the last of the old board members leaving the building. Their access cards deactivated behind them, their parking spots reassigned, their names already removed from the directory. Shall I begin the full system integration? My AI asked. Execute, I commanded, watching as Anderson Corp's outdated networks were absorbed into my quantum infrastructure. Let them wake up tomorrow to find even their digital world has evolved beyond their control. The empire they'd forced me to document was now mine to command. Every minute I'd taken, every meeting I'd recorded, every dismissive comment I'd endured, all now preserved in the company archives as a testament to their fatal underestimation. Tomorrow 5,000 employees would learn that their coffee girl was now their CEO. Their note-taker was their owner. Their family failure was their future. And not one of them had seen it coming. 1 week after the takeover, I called one last board meeting. The old guard filed in, not to their premium leather chairs, but to the observer seats along the wall. The same seats where I'd spent 2 years taking their minutes. Welcome to the new Quantum Anderson. I began activating the quantum displays. Today's agenda is simple. Watching your replacements innovate while you observe. Silently. My new executive team entered. Brilliant minds the old board had rejected. The scientist they'd called too radical. The programmer they dismissed as unfocused, the strategist they'd ignored for being too young. Father raised his hand, a gesture he'd never acknowledged when I'd done it. The family shares are non-voting now, I finished. Like your opinions. The room hummed with quantum technology as my team presented the future they'd never imagined possible. Innovation after innovation while the old guard watched from their corner seats. Meeting adjourned, I announced finally. Someone will bring you coffee. Eventually. Sometimes the best revenge is served in paper cups with a side of humble pie. Amanda reached for the remote, intending to change the channel, but Dad waved her hand away. Leave it. I want to see what's happening with the Morgan Stanley deal. The familiar click of Mom's designer heels against marble filled the silence as she returned from the kitchen, carrying her signature creme brulee. Sophia, you barely touched your dinner. Still on that startup budget diet. I ignored the jab, watching her place the desserts with precision. Best presentation in front of Dad, second best for Amanda, the slightly overcooked one for me. Some things never changed. Remember when Sophia used to wear Chanel? Amanda mused, adjusting her own Chanel jacket. Now she's in what? Kinham? That's what happens when you chase pipe dreams instead of staying at Anderson. The giant screen reflected in the sterling silver candlesticks, its light casting strange shadows across the hand-painted walls. Dad had renovated the dining room last year, $1 million upgrade to showcase his success. The imported Italian marble, the hand-carved chairs, the art pieces worth more than most houses. It was all carefully calculated to remind visitors of the Anderson family's status. Speaking of Anderson, Dad set down his wine glass, the deep red liquid catching the chandelier's light. James Morrison asked about you last week. His son Jonathan is making partner next month. Still single, excellent family. I'm not interested in being set up, Dad. The words came out sharper than intended. Of course not, Mom sighed, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she served dessert. You're too busy with your, what do you call it? Coding. Quantum encryption, I corrected, though I knew it was pointless. They'd never bothered to understand what I actually did. Right? Amanda smirked, tapping her perfectly manicured nails against the crystal water glass. Your little computer games. Meanwhile, I just closed the Peterson account. $200 million in assets. He turned to Dad. The managing partners are talking about fast-tracking me to senior partner. Dad beamed with pride, the same look I'd spent years chasing before I realized it came with golden handcuffs. That's my girl. Building something real, something substantial. Unlike some people's fantasy startup, Mom added, not quite under her breath. I checked my phone again. The NDAs would expire in exactly 90 seconds. 5 years of secrets, of working in silence, of building something they couldn't begin to comprehend, all about to come to light. You know, Dad leaned forward, his Brioni suit jacket stretching across his shoulders. Anderson's client list includes half the Fortune 500. Real companies, real success. Not some warehouse dream. The familiar heat of shame tried to crawl up my neck, but I pushed it down. They had no idea that my warehouse housed quantum computers worth more than this entire mansion. That my little coding project had revolutionized cybersecurity. That in exactly 60 seconds, I met with the hiring partner last week, Dad continued, his voice taking on that familiar lecture tone. Despite everything, they're willing to bring you in as a senior consultant. Benefits, corner office, respect. Amanda's laugh tinkled like expensive crystal. Imagine from playing with computers in a warehouse to a real office at Anderson. You should be grateful, Sophia. Grateful, I repeated softly, watching the CNBC ticker scroll faster. Yes, grateful, Mom insisted, her pearls gleaming as she leaned forward. We've had to explain your situation to our friends for 5 years. Making excuses for why you left Anderson, why you're not married, why you insist on living like a college student. Do you know how embarrassing it's been? The screen behind them flickered again. 30 seconds. Well, Dad demanded, his patience wearing thin. What do you have to say for yourself? I straightened in my chair, feeling the weight of the moment. 5 years of their condescension, their mockery, their concerned lectures about wasting my potential. 5 years of hiding my success, watching, waiting. Actually, I said quietly as the breaking news alert began to flash, I have quite a lot to say. The anchor's voice cut through the room just as Dad's fork, heavy with perfectly caramelized creme brulee, began its journey to his mouth. Breaking news in the tech sector. The CNBC anchor's voice commanded attention. In what's being called the largest acquisition of 2025, tech giant Microsoft has announced the purchase of quantum computing startup Quantum Dynamics for $8.3 billion. Dad's fork clattered against fine bone china, sending caramel sauce splattering across his pristine white shirt. Amanda's perfectly glossed mouth fell open, her wine glass frozen halfway to her lips. Sources confirm that Quantum Dynamics' revolutionary quantum encryption technology has already been secretly integrated into major banking systems worldwide. The anchor continued as my company's logo filled the screen. The mysterious founder and CEO, who has remained anonymous until now, is being hailed as the new face of quantum computing. Mom's hand flew to her throat, clutching her pearls. Sophia, isn't that my company's logo? Yes. I kept my voice level, savoring each word. The warehouse you mock? It houses the world's most advanced quantum computing facility. The screen switched to footage of my facility, gleaming rows of quantum computers, state-of-the-art labs, hundreds of employees working at cutting-edge stations. Then my official CEO photo appeared, taken last week in my penthouse office. Meet Sophia Anderson, age 32, the visionary behind Quantum Dynamics, the anchor announced. With this acquisition, Ms. Anderson becomes one of the youngest self-made billionaires in tech history. Amanda's wine glass slipped, red liquid seeping into the imported tablecloth. That's impossible. Impossible. I raised an eyebrow, pulling out my phone. With one tap, I projected our real-time stock surge onto the dining room wall. The numbers suggest otherwise. Dad stood abruptly, his chair scraping against marble. You've been running a multi-billion-dollar company? All this time? While you were bragging about Amanda's 6-figure bonuses? I smiled, opening my portfolio app. I was closing deals with governments. That coding project you dismissed? It's now protecting trillions in global transactions. The headlines kept rolling. Quantum Dynamics, the stealth startup that revolutionized cybersecurity. Sophia Anderson, tech's newest power player. Microsoft acquires Quantum Dynamics in historic $8.3 billion deal. Mom's creme brulee spoon shook against her dessert plate. But you drive a 3-year-old car. You live in that modest apartment. Actually, I pulled up another document on my phone. I own the building. And that car? It's a prototype with my quantum-enhanced AI system. Worth more than this house. Amanda's face had lost all color, her designer makeup stark against her pale skin. All those times you couldn't attend charity galas. I was meeting with world leaders about quantum security protocols. I stood, smoothing my simple blazer. This fabric? It's our smart textile prototype. Current value, $4 million. The room fell silent except for the TV, where financial analysts were falling over themselves to discuss my company's impact on global technology. $8.3 billion, Dad whispered, slumping back into his chair. His hands trembled as he reached for his wine glass. That's just the acquisition, I said, my voice cool. My personal net worth, including my technology patents and other ventures, is considerably higher. Other ventures? Amanda's voice cracked. I projected another screen showing my investment portfolio. Companies, properties, technologies, all carefully hidden until now. The numbers made Amanda's impressive partner salary look like pocket change. That Morrison merger you were bragging about? I turned to Dad. I owned 30% of the company through a shell corporation. You were negotiating with me the whole time. Mom's dessert spoon clattered to the floor. The sound echoed through the suddenly too quiet dining room. But why keep it secret? She managed to ask. I walked to the head of the table where Dad sat stunned in his power position. Because I wanted to succeed on my own terms. No family connections. No Anderson name. Just my innovation, my work. The TV switched to helicopter footage of my company's campus. Quantum Dynamics employs over 3,000 people and holds patents that experts value at over $12 billion, the anchor continued. Sources say Ms. Anderson will retain control of the company's research division post-acquisition. Dad's hands gripped the table edge. Sophia, we didn't know. Clearly. I checked my phone as it buzzed. That would be my pilot. The Microsoft board is waiting in Seattle. The sound of helicopter blades filled the air outside, growing louder. A spotlight swept across the mansion's windows, illuminating the shocked faces of my family. I rides here, I said, heading toward the door. Oh, and Amanda? It's not Chanel. I touched my blazer. I own the company that makes Chanel's smart fabrics. This is my own brand. The helicopter spotlight created a halo effect as I reached the dining room door, leaving my family frozen in their seats, their perfect world completely shattered. I paused at the dining room doorway, my hand resting on the carved mahogany frame. The helicopter's searchlight swept through the floor-to-ceiling windows again, casting dramatic shadows across my family's stunned faces. You're not really leaving for Seattle now? Mom's voice had lost its usual commanding tone. But we haven't finished dinner. I turned back, taking in the scene I'd dreamed about for 5 years. The half-eaten creme brulee, the spilled wine seeping into the expensive tablecloth, Dad's caramel-stained brioni shirt. The perfect Anderson family dinner, derailed by the daughter they'd dismissed. Actually, I moved back to the table, deliberately taking Dad's seat at the head. The board can wait 15 minutes. We should talk. Amanda's mascara had smudged slightly from wiping her eyes. All those times I mocked your warehouse. You were building an empire. The warehouse you laughed at? I pulled up another projection showing the facility's interior. That's just the public entrance. The real facility extends 6 stories underground. We have the world's largest quantum computing center right here in the city. Dad's hands shook as he reached for his wine glass. 3,000 employees. You manage 3,000 people? 5,000 now, actually. That news report was using last quarter's numbers. I smiled, watching his face pale further. Remember last year when you said I needed management training? I was overseeing the Pentagon's quantum security upgrade. Mom's perfect posture had crumbled. But your clothes, your apartment, that old car. Calculated decisions, I said, pulling up another screen. While you were tracking my failures, I was tracking something else. A series of messages appeared. Every dismissive text, every mocking email, every condescending family dinner invitation from the past 5 years. You recorded everything? Amanda whispered. I built a multi-billion-dollar encryption company. Of course I keep records. I scrolled through their messages. Sophia's playing with computers. Sophia's wasting her potential. Sophia needs to grow up and get a real job. Dad's face had aged 10 years in the past 30 minutes. We were trying to help. No, I cut him off, my voice steel-edged. You were trying to control. To force me into your version of success. I gestured to the TV, still showing my company's stock soaring. This is my version. The helicopter's blades created a steady rhythm outside, a countdown to the moment I'd leave them with their shattered assumptions. The Anderson name, Mom started then faltered, will now be associated with revolutionary quantum technology instead of corporate law, I finished for her. You're welcome. Amanda leaned forward, her business instincts finally kicking in. Sophia, maybe we could discuss some family synergy. My firm could. Your firm can contact my legal team, I interrupted, standing. I have 13 offices worldwide now. I'm sure they're in your building somewhere. 13 offices? Dad's voice cracked. But how did you manage to keep this hidden? I laughed, the sound echoing off the marble floors. The same way I managed to buy this house last month. What? Mom gasped. The renovation company you used? One of my subsidiaries. I ran my hand along the imported marble wall. I own this house, the summer house in the Hamptons, and most of the properties in this neighborhood. Amazing what you can do with quantum computing profits. The silence was deafening. Even the TV seemed to have hushed, though it continued displaying my success in brilliant HD. Now, I straightened my multi-million-dollar blazer. I really do have a board meeting in Seattle. But first, I placed a thick envelope on the table. Your invitations to next month's Quantum Dynamics Charity Gala. $8,000 per plate. Black tie, of course. You're inviting us? Amanda's voice was small. Family is family, I said, heading for the door. Besides, all the Fortune 500 CEOs will be there. Dad can network while serving at the charity auction. Mom can help with coat check. And Amanda. I paused, savoring the moment. Try not to spill any drinks while waitressing. The guests get testy. The helicopter's spotlight found me as I stepped onto the front lawn, my security detail materializing from unmarked cars. The wind whipped around us, blowing through the dining room windows I'd left open. I could see them still sitting there, frozen in their expensive chairs, watching as their daughter, the disappointment, the dreamer, the one who'd walked away from their perfect plan, stepped into her perfect revenge. Ms. Anderson, my pilot's voice crackled through my earpiece. Microsoft board is standing by. Tell them I'm on my way, I replied, climbing aboard. And John, make sure we fly past the Anderson Consulting building. I want them to see my logo on the side of the helicopter. As we lifted off, I caught one last glimpse of my family through the dining room windows. Dad's empire suddenly looked very small from up here. The helicopter banked toward Seattle, leaving behind the house that thought it was a mansion, the family that thought they were powerful, and the daughter they should never have underestimated. Through the helicopter's window, I watched as Dad rushed onto the front lawn, his caramel-stained shirt glowing under the spotlights. Mom and Amanda followed, their designer heels sinking into the manicured grass. Sophia, wait. Dad's voice barely carried over the chopper's blades. For the first time in my life he looked small. I pressed the intercom. Hold position, John. The helicopter hovered, its powerful lights illuminating their upturned faces. 5 years of their condescension flashed through my mind. Every snide comment, every dismissive gesture, every concerned family intervention. I activated the external speaker. Yes, Dad. We should talk about this, he shouted up, his carefully styled hair whipping in the rotor wash. As a family. Like we talked about my career choices? My voice boomed across the lawn. Or how about when you tried to force me back to Anderson by freezing my trust fund? Amanda stepped forward, her Louboutin smutty now. That was different. We were worried about you. I laughed. Worried? Let me show you. I pressed a button, stats lit up their mansion walls. Market cap, patents, revenue, contracts. Bigger than all of Anderson Consulting. Mom gasped. Dad froze. While you judged my clothes, I built an empire, I said. Another click showed ownership papers. Lubumbrioni. I own your labels now. Their faces crumbled in the glow. The gala's invite only, I added. Black tie. Try to keep up. Dad stepped forward. Sophia, we're family. Yes, I said coldly. So you'll serve drinks and coats like family. From my helicopter I watched them shrink on the lawn. Everything they thought was theirs was mine. Ms. Anderson, John called. Microsoft board wants your ETA. 40 minutes, I replied. And make sure the Anderson Tower sees our new logo. As Seattle came into view, I smiled at my laptop. Tomorrow headlines. Tonight, the Andersons preparing to serve at my gala. Their greatest humiliation.